Speaking of media, we do something a little bit different than other media houses. You probably have heard of that before. Generally, we create a lot of content on ours. We also welcome other media outlets to the stage, right? We do that at South by. Some of those that don't necessarily have a home. The Nomads at the Business Insider Mafia, one of which is none other than Katie Canales, who is here from Business Insider. She's up. So, Katie, if you're ready, I'm going to call you up to this stage so that you can take it away. Come on up. Big round of applause for Katie Canales, Business Insider. It's our ultimate panel. That means our last panel for the day 3 here, Consensus Festival Media Stage. Katie, I'm going to hand you this microphone and then let you invite up your panelists and have a good time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Like Jordan said, it's the last panel of the day. So everyone grab a drink and get ready for the last panel. But going to invite the panelists up. Stefan Rust. All right. There we go. Come on up. Here we go. Ido Sofair. Yeah, come on up. Karim Nurani. All right. So Stefan and Karim have been here all day. But Stefan is the CEO of Laguna, building an inflation-proof ecosystem. Karim, as Jordan was mentioning, is Chief Strategy Officer at Linqto. But Ido, this is his first panel of the day, so I'm going to let him intro himself and tell everyone a little bit about himself.
All right, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. So nice to meet you, everybody. I'm Ido. I'm from Xango. Xango is right over there. You can see that. Yeah, and there. So Xango is a non-custodial crypto wallet. I would dare to say currently the most secure Web3 wallet out there. Now, I'll say 2 words about that. If you know Fireblocks, probably most of you know Fireblocks. So they use MPC technology. And that technology, I mean, only institutions, large institutions had this privilege until now to have this kind of security. And Xango brings that to the retail, to all of us. And that makes it a whole new standard of security. We have a couple of hundreds of thousands of users, growing very fast. Also through the bear market, and it's super exciting times for us. And so that's a bit of us, and we'll talk about it later. And I'm, just to say, I have the privilege of being the VP of Business and Strategy in Xango.
Awesome. All right.
I just downloaded the wallet, by the way. So if you haven't downloaded it, yeah, there you go.
There we go.
2 new installs.
There it is. All right, y'all. So last panel of the day, we're talking about the crypto market bubble. Assuming everyone here and possibly everyone in town at this festival probably has the same answer, but this much speculated upon crypto bubble, are we in one? What does that mean? What's going to happen? There's a lot of chatter that, yes, we are in a bubble. It's going to burst. There are trillions invested in the Web3 space globally. The finance and the business worlds are jumping on the bandwagon. It's been a rough 6 months. Last month especially. There was a major disruption in the market. Prices plummeted. And even, Andreessen Horowitz, they said we're heading into a crypto winter. So like I said, I'm sure I know what y'all's answers are going to be, but, do you think we're seeing the usual signs of a traditional financial bubble? Or do you think this is a typical hiccup in the market, that's known for its volatility?
So in the crypto world, I definitely think there's volatility, always has been, and this is definitely a period where there's extraction out of the market and price has been going down. And it's no surprise if you think that interest rate has been at 0% and the amount of money that's been printed, that has resulted in an increase in all prices, not only in the crypto world, but also in the traditional markets.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing a retraction, and the retraction we're seeing now is compounded by the rising interest rates and the fiat world having to deleverage because of that interest rate. But us in crypto land, if you think about it, we're not very highly leveraged. So from our perspective, I think crypto is just going through a normal cycle where the tourists are leaving and the residents are staying, or the immigrants are staying.
Yeah, well, I'll tap into that, Stefan. And so economy in general, and before that, I spent actually 7 years in the Ministry of Finance in Israel. Economy goes like this, it ups and downs, and that's what happens. And essentially, when you print money, and that's what happened during COVID, then essentially instead of the market going downwards in a natural way, then it keeps going up in an unnatural way. And then what you get afterwards is a more, I would say, violent recession. And I think that's what we're seeing currently, or maybe, I don't know if we're in the end of it or no, but so we have a more violent correction in the markets. Another thing that I will say, so you mentioned Andreas and Horowitz. So one thing that they do say is that price bubbles, what do they serve? So we had a long time that a lot of teams got funded, and those teams and the amount of money that went into this space now allow a lot of teams to keep building. So and the time that things will go up, so you have a lot of new products and new teams and new products out there. So the spaces keep being builded more and more. So it's also positive.
So I'm Karim, Nurani, CSO of Linqto. If you've downloaded Xango, download Linqto.com app. And what we do is we've democratized access to private investment of pre-IPO unicorn companies. In relation to what we're talking about, the crypto bubble, I'd like to separate it into two sections, right? There is a tendency to think that, or there may be a tendency to think that the crypto market is in tandem or reflecting the public markets to a certain extent. But what we have to do is dissect the difference between the crypto market that we're looking to, or the crypto coins or the crypto assets. There is utility and there is proof, there is value to cryptos, but there is this whole other sector that is actually community driven. So I don't think we can place all of these crypto bubbles, assets, winters into one category. We have to separate the categories, and then dependent on what your investment thesis is, look at those markets separately. So if you look at some of, if you think Bitcoin was built to hedge inflation, there's an issue there. If you look at Ether, Solana, or Cardano built on utilities and protocols to achieve certain things, we have to look at the utility there. And then you look at some of the cultural coins that are enabling emerging countries and populations in those emerging countries to create commerce, connection, and empowerment. That's a different one. So depending on where you are and who and what you're investing in, we have to separate those things and not bulk it up.
For sure. And I like how you touched on that, because I feel like the consensus that I'm seeing is that, to survive a crypto project, it needs to solve some sort of problem. It needs to be something other than a speculation tool, right? And I love the comparison that a supposed crypto market bubble, and people are making a comparison between that and the dotcom boom, the dotcom bubble bursting. So do you think there are any similarities between the two? Do you think there are any differences? If so, what are they? You're at
let's remember Stefan, I'm going to say this again, bought the first $5 Bitcoin
in 2012, right?
Right. And now he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the dot-com bust was a bubble, but I felt that I don't think this bear market, winter market is the same as the dot-com. I think 2017, you could do that analogy. I think the 2017, 2018 crash, I would say, was more akin to what we saw in 2000. You saw business plans being created and everything was going to just add .com at the end of it and you would raise money. That was what was going on in those. It shows my age, but I went through that whole wave and it was like you were raising money in a week. I mean, it was like crazy fast, and equity money, right? But either way, this cycle feels very different. People are building, the tools are much more advanced than they were in 2017. The residents, not the immigrants, the residents are totally committed to the projects. And I think the immigrants that are here now are also committed to the projects because they want to stay and they see that the opportunity by working through this, coming out on the other side is going to be really great and present the new unicorn in crypto land.
I tend to agree. I'll just say one point of resemblance that we can say is that there's the technology and then there's the adoption by the retails. And the technology is there. By the way, it was there also in the dot-com bubble, but I think that we expect the adoption to be a lot quicker than it is, and that thing takes time. And so that's a point of resemblance that we do see, and it takes time, and adoption is hard and has iterations. So that's a point that we're also experiencing right now.
So I would like to ask both of you, because you have the wallet, you've had the experience of the Bitcoin right from the origins. I mean, what percentage of the world population right now is engaged with crypto assets or cryptocurrency in its various forms. I mean, if we look at an 8 billion population, I mean, what we're talking about right now is a small community, right? So what is that?
I've looked at this, and I believe that there are maybe 500 million people worldwide that own some form of crypto. That can be through an ETF, that can be through a trust, through some sort of actually DeFi participants, or any range, or on a Binance account or anything, right? Or Coinbase account, no matter what. But 500 million users worldwide. And in the DeFi segment, though, we're maybe only 20 million. But that 20 million today has maybe 200 billion in TVL locked up across all the DeFi protocols. And so it's a highly active and engaged community. It's very tight, but that community has to grow to maybe a 300, 200 million in the next 2 to 3 years. And if the total value of all coins grows to $9 trillion, it's still not even the size of gold if that's what happens. So we've still got a long way to go. And that, is still a minuscule portion of the overall market size in terms of financial market. And number two, in terms of user base. And in order to do that, we need to have much better user experience. And we need to invite users, designers, UX designers to come in and help us build that, e.g. nice wallets that actually interact and on a non-custodial basis. That's really where we're happy. I'd love to see more of that.
Yeah, so you touched about UX, and providing a better experience. So I'll just ask, and I usually ask that, how many of you lost a key in the, car key, house key in the past couple of years? Yeah. So I lost like 3. So to be honest, yeah. So usually like a third. Usually a third raises their hand. So we get used to these weird standards that if you lost your key, so in crypto it's a death sentence, and that's a weird standard, and we're used to it. But first of all, I mean, we're in Xango, so we're taking out of this vulnerability, which is just is not enabling us to create mass adoption, because right now the people that are entering the space, and we talked about coins, but we didn't talk about NFTs. But essentially, a lot of people that go in this space, they just want an NFT, and now they're trying to figure out what the hell they need to do in order to get that. So they expect the same service that they have on Twitter, they have in PayPal or Venmo, whatever. They don't want to go through those pain points and those weird stuff that we're used to, and those are, and we talk about it here. But so the level of service that is, that is expected is where we need to go. And I think that everybody in the space knows that, and are going forward to that direction.
I'm going to bring it back a little bit to actually, so if you look at what we do in the private equity space, it's an innovative way to invest in private equity that's not been possible for accredited investors for decades because of whatever reason. Wall Street has held that opportunity for themselves. But what we do find is these innovative investors are also holders of crypto. And what we're seeing there is the thought leadership that they're trying to identify in use cases of particular cryptos, and how best that those things are going to change the way the economics of the environment work, whether it's Bitcoin as a store of value, or as XRP as a rail that enables certain things. So the real question, and going back to Stefan's, is if it's only 500 million, then we look at the worldwide population and we say, even if it's 1 billion people or 2 billion people that get involved, the real question then becomes, to your point, is there an opportunity for all of these coins to raise or rise in value very quickly once the regulations are identified, right, and move in that direction? Because now all of a sudden you've got Bitcoin at what, 26, 27,000, potentially with 21 million coins. Does that go up to the $100,000, $200,000 value as soon as it's recognized that it's a valuable asset?
Yeah. You wanna?
You're making my job easy, Karim. Go ahead.
Yeah. You're a very hard moderator, Karim. I don't know. Kathy is doing great, but you're a tough one. I'll just say that I think we talk about Bitcoin, but essentially the main thing are stable coins. And when you talk about payment layers, and when you talk about DeFi, everything is built on stable coins. Now, essentially, what I think that will happen is we're going to see Also, the UST and everything that happened on the Terra ecosystem. But regulation is going to kick in, and once regulation is going to kick in, then also mass adoption and bringing stablecoins into the familiar payment systems that we know is going to be a lot easier. So I would expect that the mass adoption regarding coins will be from the stablecoins that we know. And on another direction, the digital assets is going to be something that is going to be separate, and it's about identity and ownership and other stuff. So that's what I think.
I don't think we can wait for the regulators to make the decision, because I don't think they're going to make it fast. I think we're going to be waiting all the time. They're always going to be behind us, and we're always going to expect them to tell us what to do. I don't think we can afford to do that. We're here, and remember, Bitcoin was a peer-to-peer electronic cash system that was set up after the GFC, or the Great Financial Crisis, and it was set up as a means to change the system. And as a result, we haven't changed the system. We're waiting for the system to tell us how to change it. And guess what? They're not going to like us to change anything than what they have today. And so we're taking away market share from them. We're creating an alternative to their monopolistic situation. And they don't want that. And so we as entrepreneurs are building solutions that are disruptive, and a disruption by nature is unpleasant because it brings about change. And we all know that establishment and institutions don't really like too much change, especially not if they can't control it. And so how do we navigate in that? That's a balance for us. That's to identify how far can we push it, and then where is the boundary, and how do we continue to nudge that boundary forward as a community? And I think that's what we're doing.
Karim, any more questions? Karim, any more questions? No. I'm just giving you. I'm just messing with you. Totally just messing with you.
Drop the mic and go, man.
Totally just messing with you. I love this. This is what we're here for. You guys just talk it out. My questions are just to help guide us. So I am going to go back a little bit to the dotcom bubble bursting comparison, because I think it's kind of important to look at kind of what happened there and to see if we're seeing something similar. But I think, when we're looking at crypto projects and what they need to survive whatever sort of downturn, whatever we're seeing right now, the dot-com crisis, it didn't kill the internet. It didn't prevent tech companies from finding their footing. So what do you think, crypto projects need to do to survive that would-be situation? What do you think the pets.coms of a would-be crypto market bubble are?
Make sure you have enough runway. It's a simple game. If you look at pets.com, they didn't have the runway. They spent it in one way. And then you look at Amazon that came out the other end. They continue to have enough runway. They raised money. And today, we look back at Amazon. I think, we look at what DC, they wish that they hadn't allowed Amazon to be created, right? And so, anyway, I think there's potential for the next crypto empires to sort of disrupt the Amazons of the world. What does that look like? I don't think we know yet, right? But I think the next unicorn that's going to be on the Linqto app, by the way, is going to be a crypto unicorn that we will all be able to participate in and be able to manage the tokens through the Xango wallet. So that's
nice.
Good
job.
And it's going to be Laguna, by the way.
That's nice. I'll just say that when digital payments came out, so everybody was very stoked, and a bit later, so things started to go sour because of scams, because of a lot of security matters, and that really kind of hurt the adoption. And I think that we're also seeing that in crypto right now, and for wallets and for people around us in the space. So the security is the number one issue that users are currently facing, and so there are a lot of teams pushing forward, and I think we're one of the leading teams that we want to make sure that the security allows you to participate. And if you're not sure, then how are you gonna put your life savings into something that you can just lose in front of your eyes due to if you sign a message and you connect to a website, or you lose something and then you just can watch everything go away, and that's something that is just not acceptable. So the security matter, I think that it's gonna rule the next year or so, and security is UX and UX is security, especially in crypto, and it's also in the digital payments when it just started.
So we heard about Xango, we heard about Linqto.com. We've got to listen to Trueflation, pay attention to Trueflation, which is going to tell us everything that's happening in the economy. Here we go. But I would like to take away a little bit from this. It's like, okay, security is important. The user experience is important. The UX, UI is important. The backend technology is important. But let's look at the people investing in these various crypto people. It's just all of us, right? It's all of us. And we go, so, I mean, I'll be the first to admit, it's if I'm investing in something, you should all be selling. If I'm selling something, you should be buying. I'm the perfect contrarian. So basically, the idea is pay attention to what it is you want to achieve and how you're going to do that, and do your research and study. I think there's a parallel between the public markets and what we're seeing in the crypto environment, just because of the number of people involved. The volatility is higher because of the value that's in the crypto environment that has less disbursement value, right? So as soon as one large transaction happens, that affects the valuation tremendously. And I think we forget that that is a small relationship to the value. The transaction is a small relationship to the value. And so we have to pay attention to that. But in anything else, there are good companies and good protocols and good environments that you can pay attention to. Just don't do what I do, right? At the end of the day. Because what we tend to do is like, if there's enough hype, that's where we go. And that's where the rug pull happens. It's like, hey, all of a sudden, it's like I didn't pay attention and I lost my money. So there's a huge parallel, I think, between the public markets and the equity market, the crypto market that we see, in my opinion.
Awesome. You just touched on this a minute ago, but for, let's say, the average person who has never, touched the crypto space, has nothing, doesn't know much about it. They're reading all of this about, a crypto crash and, a lot of cautionary tales about the space. What would you tell them to look for, to watch for, how to enter this space smartly?
Yeah, I'll start. So one thing that actually the founder of Xango, Uri Elochayon, it's one lesson that I learned from him, and I take that everywhere, is you can read and you can watch videos, but until you do something by yourself, get a wallet, go buy something, buy ETH on, I don't know, an exchange or somewhere else, go to DeFi and try that. Until you do that, you won't really understand. Now, once you do that, you understand the pain points, where the industry is problematic, where it needs to go, what do you need to do as an investor, what you don't know. So everything becomes clear. So the thing is, and it's a bit scary, yeah, but just try. It doesn't have to be with $100,000, but take $100 and try, and you will understand more than reading your whole year of watching crypto Twitter and so on. So that's my advice.
Yeah, echo, cap. I dropped the mic, there you go. Yeah, no, I couldn't echo more. I mean, I look at people that I spent most of my career trying to build out a peer-to-peer payment system. I wanted to see velocity and in crypto, with crypto, on a layer one. And I used Bitcoin Cash largely as the way to do it because it was fast, it was extremely reliable, and it was cheap. And so I thought that we could get merchants to sign up. And what I realized is people didn't like velocity, right? They didn't like the volatility. Sorry, not velocity. They didn't like the volatility. And nobody wants to be the guy that spent $3,000 or $300 million on a pizza, right? And so stable coins provide that solution. And that it was an amazing UX experience. So now how do we get stable coins back away from just yield farming and trading into, let's use it as a tender to be able to go to the shops and buy my drinks here at the bar and pay in crypto. And to me, that's something I think we need to achieve. I've tried a lot throughout my career to pay people wherever I can in crypto. Everywhere I go, I always ask, do you accept Bitcoin? Do you accept crypto? Do you accept? And then a lot of times they'll say no. But when they say yes, they say, okay, how do I do that? What do I do? And then they learn and they get into it. Like you said, right? Download this wallet, download that wallet. And then they get into it. And some of the, I can't say emphasize this better. Some of the people that actually accepted Bitcoin, they got into it and they immediately aped in, and they're now full crypto within a 2-year time horizon. They're now on top of it. They know the key influencers. They're in all the Telegram groups, and they're engaged, and they're now full-time crypto contributing to the community. So that's super happy to see, and they're passionate about it, which is what is amazingly, and they're actually extremely grateful too, which is even better.
So I agree with you. There are so many groups that you can actually pay attention to and learn a lot from. But I also agree with you. It's just try different things and put a couple of, put some money behind every crypto. But I think it's the idea of realizing what each of these things do, what each of these crypto things do. So if you look at transfer of payments, I mean, if you have a friend that lives in a foreign country, actually do a transfer of payment using the various protocols and see what the gas fees and the interest rates are and the charges are, and the speed of it, and if that's what you want to think about as a gateway to payments, then that's what you experiment with. If you want to look at the community aspect of it, then find cryptos that involve with community and building that community. So and experiment with these, because what we're seeing here, and a lot of us have not experimented with, is what the international global community is doing with crypto, and we're still limited with our practices. So experiment outside of our little US community and see what works. That's what I would say.
Can I ask you just a quick question, general question, just sort of, I just realized this now as we're talking, is actually we haven't addressed NFTs, right? And is NFT the entry into crypto, right? Is that something that creates an emotional attachment? It's something I can see. It's not just a number in a wallet.
Well, is it an entry, or maybe some of the noise to bypass to get to the true kind of core tenet of the movement, right? I mean,
So I'll take a step back, and what happened to wallets? So as a non-custodial wallet, so we had you have custodial exchanges and so on, and you have non-custodial wallets. And a year ago, they were pretty much alike. You buy Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin, you sell Bitcoin, and you go home, hopefully with some money. And what happened in the last year? So we had DeFi summer, and we had NFTs, and now everything happens on chain. Now, what does it mean? It happens on chain. That if you want to go to the Moonbird party in NFT NYC, you need to prove your ownership. So you need to hold it in your wallet. And if you want to get airdrops of a different protocol, so you need to hold it. So now, actually, wallets become more attached. It's where you store your identity, and it's where you use it to interact with the world. And it's so essentially NFTs are taking us somewhere else. It's more of our identity. I think it's like our phone. Our life is in our phone, and that's where wallets are going, and that's where NFTs are going. And it's a lot more diverse than having coins, which are they're amazing, but it's something different. And it's a lot easier for people to understand and to connect and to understand, what they can do with it. It's a picture, it's your art, it's your events, it's everything that you have, it's you. So yeah, I think it's different, and that will drive adoption.
Can I push that boundary a little bit? Just a little bit?
go for it.
I think what we're going to see in the not too distant future, that each one of us is our own token. And the value that we have and created and can disseminate is what has value. So tie in self-sovereign identity, tie in data, experience, and we become our own bank. And once we become our own bank, we're an NFT, we're a payment gateway, and we're a token. So I'm just pushing it a little bit out there. So 4 or 5 years from today, you will replay this.
There you go. You called it. We will have called it. Awesome. I'm trying to read your watch upside down. I think we're out of time, if I believe. But thank you all for staying for one more panel, talking to me, talking to each other. Really appreciate it. And yeah, everyone have a good happy hour and dinner, and have a good weekend.
I just got another airdrop. Look at that. Oh, wow, man, just came down here.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, does anyone have any questions y'all want to toss to our panelists? Go for it.
So when you talk about your own token economy, like you are your own token, is that like an IOU token or what?
Well, given your talent, it might be an IOU token. Look, data is important, right? Data is the most important thing, and how that's stored and what the value of that is, and what is the data that you can impart and willing to release and share. When we talk about data, it's all of you and your knowledge and what you've done and what you can do, that's part of that whole system, right? So you may be valued at a little bit and a lot, just depending on who you are.
I'd like to answer that as well. So, it's a bit of a cliche, but we talk about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, right? So it's Web 1 read, Web 2 read write, and then Web 3 is read write own. So essentially, when you have everything on chain with you, so that means that you can move to any other platform, but your assets, they come with you, right? And so I relate more to that because you have DISO, you have BitCloud, DISO is from BitCloud, and you have their own tokens, and that's interesting. But I think that your identity as a whole is something a lot polar, and that goes with you on chain to every other platform with no boundaries and nobody that has ownership over your assets. And I think that's where it's going. So if you have followers there, and if you made your own IP somewhere, then it goes with you wherever you go. So it's yours. It's nobody else's, and you decide what to do with it. If you want to monetize, monetize. If not, not. No.
So, one thing I've been trying to think about is how correlated is the DeFi system to interest rates. What I mean by that is, as interest rates go up, I thought about how the functionality of being able to collateralize your assets, get stable coins, spend for things, that becomes even more competitive, right? Because it becomes cheaper debt. But what I don't understand really is that mechanism somehow connected to real interest rates? And do you guys kind of agree with that sentiment or how interest rates could affect that part of the
You want to take it or?
Which interest rates? Real world interest rates or crypto interest rates?
real world interest rates, like things set by the Fed or
I think that we often forget that high interest comes with high risk, and essentially, so when interest rates are down, then you look for alternatives, and DeFi is an alternative. But what happens is when the 10-year bond yield is up, and you can get 3% on your crypto without having essentially almost any risk, then all of the smart money just goes away. And the thing that happened in crypto is what it's a bit of not what we expected, but everything goes to one bucket, which is called risky. So tech stocks, crypto, everything goes to this bucket. It's called dangerous, and all the smart money goes away, and and it flows to where you can get interest, but with a very low risk. So I think it's all connected, yeah, essentially.
Yeah, if you think about the fiat world, it is maybe 80 to 90% levered up. So they're highly leveraged. So the impact of interest is super high in a leveraged market. In crypto world, we're maybe 2% leveraged. So there's a huge difference in terms of the exposure that you have and the impact interest rates has on both economies separately. I think what, to your point, right? I mean, the element around if interest rates go up in a fiat world where I'm highly leveraged and I've put money into a high risk category, that high risk category ends up being crypto, then I have to take the money out of crypto because I'm deleveraging in my high risk category to then rebalance my whole portfolio. And that, I think, is what we're seeing right now in the crypto landscape.
So a little bit of addition to that. So if you look at the interest rates that are created by central governments, is leveraged on the current fiat currency, right? And it's a manufactured number that does something for somebody. But if we go to the environment of the crypto environment, then interest rates are determined by peer-to-peer of the risk that you're going to take on a particular investment and what your potential return is based on yourself as a borrower or lender. So I think that as we DeFi and decentralize the whole environment, that becomes a little bit clearer rather than a manufactured interest rate.
Any other questions? Sure.
So I think the evolution of crypto is going to be the blending of Web 2 and Web 3 together, right? That's where it's going to go. But
Billy and the margaritas. No, joking. Joking aside. I don't think it's going to be a magic, there's not going to be that one thing that's going to turn us all across the line. I think it's a gradually and then suddenly, right? It's like we're going to gradually evolve. I think utility is going to be really a big step forward, unless we have utility or data protection where I can actually really feel I'm sharing my data with you and I'm earning it. And I can retract that data at any point in time. But for that, I need a great user experience and a great maintenance and management tool, right? I think that's maybe a bit too far-fetched where we are today. I just really think it's utility. If we drive utility where my kids can actually then go and use their nuance to then go and buy their Nike sneakers, that's something that's going to make an impact. And I think that's really going to drive adoption.
So, first of all, I think that your answer is valid as ours, since essentially we use we have a 24/7 live customer support. We invest a lot in it. We have a response time of under 1 minute on average, and we spend a lot of time with our users understanding what they need and what hurts them. So, I don't wanna repeat that every time, but I would say security is the number one issue. That's people are afraid to put their money into it, and they're afraid to take another step. So this is one thing, and another thing. Yeah, you're right. The on-ramp rails and payment rails and everything. It's not there yet. The fees are still high with everything. Even if you're an exchange and you have withdrawal fees and the bank doesn't accept. So having that the user flow from starting till end with by the way regulatory. So I agree that we don't need to wait for it, but when there's a cloud. So it's also something that is interrupting. So yeah, so I would say take, and that's something that you can answer yourself. Take the user flow from when you start until you want to get it back to your bank after you did everything. So you bought, you held it, you put some into DeFi, you bought an NFT, and then you wanted to take some out, so you sold it and get it back to your bank. And if that doesn't happen the way that it should, so it's up to us to do it well. That's it.
Katie, what are your thoughts?
I'm not here to give my thoughts, actually. But thank you for the opportunity anyways. I think we're probably wrapped. All right. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate y'all being here, and thank y'all for
Thank you very much.
Yeah, one more big round of applause for the one-of-a-kind Katie Canales Business Insider.